My name is Nora. I am 28 years old now. But the story I want to tell you happened when I was just 24. It is something I have never told anyone before. Something very real. Something that changed my life. At that time, I worked full-time as a waitress. I worked in a restaurant in a big city. It was a busy place. Many people came every day. Some were kind. Some were not. The tips were good sometimes, but only if you smiled a lot. You had to say, "Yes, sir," or "No, ma'am," even when people were rude to you. It was hard work. I worked because I had to. My mom was sick. She was not sick like the movies say. It was not cancer or a big illness. It was a slow sickness. It made her body tired, and her heart sad. She had worked too much for many years. She hoped for a better life, but things did not get better. She got tired and weak. My dad left us when I was 16 years old. He left without any money. He left with many broken promises. He said he would come back, but he never did. So, my little brother and I stayed with my mom. I became the person who took care of them. I worked 2 jobs many days. In the morning, I worked in the coffee shop. I poured coffee and smiled at sleepy people. In the evening, I worked in the restaurant. I served food and took orders. I was always tired. My legs hurt. My hands shook sometimes. Every day, someone made me feel small. They did not say it out loud, but I could feel it. Their eyes did not see me as a person. They saw me as just a waitress. They acted like I was not important. Like I was invisible. Sometimes, a customer would hand me a napkin without looking at me. They didn't say please or thank you. Some would snap their fingers at me, like I was a dog. Others would talk loudly about me in front of me, as if I was furniture in the room. These moments hurt. They made my heart feel heavy. I wanted to tell someone, I am more than this job. But I could not. I had to be strong for my family. Sometimes, I pretended the words did not hurt. I let them slide off me like rain on a window. But inside, I was tired. So tired. Tired of hiding my pain. Tired of smiling when I wanted to cry. Tired of pretending that everything was okay. Every night when I went home, I would close the door quietly. I did not want my mom or brother to hear me cry. I sat on the cold kitchen floor. I thought about my dreams. I wondered if I would ever be more than a waitress. If I could ever be free from this small life. There was one night I will never forget. It was a cold, rainy night. The rain fell hard all day. The sky was gray and heavy, and the streets were wet and shiny like glass. My shoes were soaked through. Water dripped from the toes. Every step made a soft splash. My clothes were damp and my hair felt sticky on my neck. I had not eaten since 10 in the morning. The morning felt far away now. My stomach growled quietly, but I did not have time to eat. I was busy working. Busy serving people. Busy trying to keep a smile on my face. At table 6, there was a man who was unhappy with his food. He sent his steak back 3 times. Each time, I apologized and went back to the kitchen to tell the chef. The man looked angry. His face was red. He sighed loudly and looked at his friend like it was my fault. I felt small. Like a shadow in the big room. After I brought his steak the last time, I turned to walk away. But I heard him laugh. He laughed at me. He said to his friend, "She's cute. Maybe I'll tip her enough to buy herself a real job." His words cut me like a knife. I wanted to stop. To say something back. But I didn't. Instead, I smiled. I picked up his empty plate quietly and walked away. Inside, my heart was breaking. I wanted to cry, but I held it in. I kept walking until I reached the walk-in fridge. The cold air hit me like a wall. I opened the heavy door and stepped inside. I needed a moment. I needed to be alone. I grabbed a crate of tomatoes and sat down on it. The cold plastic bit into my skin, but I did not care. I put my face in my hands and cried. I cried so hard that I could barely breathe. The tears fell like rain on my hands. My body shook. I stayed there for a long time. The world outside was noisy, but inside the fridge, everything was silent except my tears. Later that night, I went home. The house was quiet. My mom was sitting in her chair. Her eyes were tired, but soft. I sat beside her and whispered, "Maybe I am nothing. Maybe this is all I will ever be." She looked at me with love and sadness. Her voice was soft and calm. "You are keeping this family alive," she said. "You are not nothing. You are everything." Her words wrapped around me like a warm blanket. But still, they did not reach deep enough. I felt like I was drowning in silence. No dreams filled my mind. No hope for the future. Just numbers on tables. Just coffee orders and plates to carry. That night, I lay awake, listening to the rain. I wished for a life where I could be seen. Not just as a waitress, but as someone who mattered. And then, he walked in. It was a Thursday afternoon. My shift had just started. The restaurant was quiet. Only a few people were sitting at tables. I was wiping table 4 with a wet cloth. The wood was smooth and dark. I liked that table. It was near the window, where the light came in soft and golden, even on cloudy days. That's when I noticed him. He didn't walk in with noise. He didn't look around like he was searching for someone. He walked in slowly, quietly. Like maybe he wasn't sure if he wanted to stay. He wore simple clothes. Blue jeans. A gray sweater. Glasses that sat low on his nose. Nothing fancy. But there was something calm about him. Like the kind of person who doesn't need to talk loud to be noticed. He looked around for a second, then sat down, at table 4. He didn't take out his phone like most people did. He just sat. His hands folded in front of him. His eyes looking down at the table, then out the window. I walked over and gave him a menu. He smiled softly. "Just a black coffee," he said. "And lemon cake, if you have it." I nodded and walked to the kitchen. Who was this man? He looked different. Not because of his clothes. Not because of how he looked. But because of how he sat, quiet, but present. Like he was really there, not thinking about 10 other things. I brought his coffee and cake. When I placed them on the table, he looked up at me. His eyes were kind. Gentle. And then he said something I didn't expect. "Rough day?" I blinked. Surprised. People didn't ask me that. Not really. Most didn't even look me in the eyes. But he did. I tried to act casual. I gave a small smile. "You could say that." He nodded slowly. Then he said, "I used to bus tables." I know that smile. It's the one you wear when you're ready to scream inside. His words hit something deep inside me. I didn't know what to say. I just stared at him for a moment. And then, without meaning to, I laughed. Not a big laugh. Just a small one. But it was real. It was the first real laugh I'd had in days. His name was Leo. He came back the next day. And the day after that. Always the same order. Black coffee. Lemon cake. Always sat at table 4. Sometimes he read a book. Sometimes he asked about my day. Nothing romantic. Nothing strange. Just simple. Just safe. After about 2 weeks, he looked at me shyly and said, "Hey. I hope this isn't strange, but would you want to sit with me after your shift one day?" I enjoy talking with you." I paused. I didn't know what to say. No one had asked me that before. Not like that. Not so kindly. I looked at him. Something about him felt different. Safe. Honest. So I said, "Okay. Sure." And in that small moment, something inside me began to change. We sat on a wooden bench just outside the restaurant. It was quiet. The dinner rush had ended, and the street lights had turned on. The cold wind touched my face. My fingers felt like ice. I didn't bring a jacket that day. Leo saw me shiver. He smiled gently and took off his scarf. "Here, take this," he said. It was warm and soft. It smelled like soap and something calm. I didn't want to take it, but he placed it around my neck anyway. "Better?" he asked. I nodded. "Thank you." We sat in silence for a few minutes. The air was still. A bus passed by slowly. A dog barked in the distance. I looked at the sky. It was dark, but the stars were beginning to show. And then, without meaning to, I started talking. I told him about my life. About my mom, who was too tired to smile most days. About my little brother, who tried to be strong, even though I knew he was scared. I talked about working double shifts, about the tiredness in my bones. And I told him something I hadn't said out loud in years. "I wanted to be an architect once," I said quietly. "When I was a kid, I built little paper houses. I used napkins, boxes, anything I could find. I used to dream about designing real homes. Homes for people who didn't have any." I looked at my hands. They were red from the cold. Rough from washing too many dishes. I laughed, but it was a sad laugh. "Stupid, right?" I said. "Just a waitress building castles out of napkins." I expected him to laugh too. Or to smile in that way people do when they think you're just dreaming. But he didn't. He looked at me. Not with pity. Not with fake kindness. He looked at me like I had just told him something important. Something beautiful. "That's not stupid," he said softly. "That's a vision. A good one. Don't let anyone take that from you." I felt something move in my chest. Something warm. Something forgotten. After that night, I saw him in a new way. Kind. Gentle. But also quiet, like he was carrying something too. Then, one afternoon, he forgot his notebook at the restaurant. I found it on table 4. The cover was black and a little worn. I opened it, just to see if there was a name inside. But what I found surprised me. Pages and pages of drawings. Beautiful buildings. Tiny notes about materials. Arrows pointing to details. Words like eco-friendly, solar, and affordable housing were written in the margins. I blinked. Who was he really? I typed his name into Google that night. And my heart stopped. Leo was not just a kind man with warm coffee and lemon cake. He was an award-winning architect. He had been in a magazine. He had designed homes for families who had nothing. Homes like the ones I used to dream about. I sat in the dark, holding his notebook, feeling my whole world shift. The next time Leo came into the restaurant, I didn't smile right away. I was nervous. Curious. Something had been sitting inside my chest for days, a quiet question that wouldn't go away. So after I poured his usual coffee and placed his lemon cake gently on the table, I looked at him. Really looked at him. His eyes met mine, warm as always. And I asked, softly but clearly, "Why are you here, Leo? Why this place?" He blinked once. Then smiled. Not the quick kind of smile people give when they're hiding something. This one was slow. Honest. A little sad. Because when I walk into big offices or fancy cafes, he said, people only see my job title. My success. My money. But here, I get to be a person. No suits. No noise. Just peace. He looked down at the table, then back at me. And more importantly, he added, I got to meet you. My heart did a quiet flip inside my chest. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. But I think that was the moment I knew. I was falling for him. Not just for his kindness or his soft words, but for the way he saw me, really saw me, when no one else did. But this isn't a fairy tale. Not yet. Because just when everything was starting to feel safe, something happened. It was a Friday night. The restaurant was hosting a private dinner in the back room. A group of wealthy clients had rented the space for some business event. I was asked to serve. I didn't mind, private events usually meant better tips. I fixed my hair in the mirror. Tied my apron. Tried to smile. Just another shift, I told myself. And then I saw him. Leo. He walked in through the back door. But he wasn't alone. A woman was holding his arm. She was tall, elegant. Her hair perfect, her lipstick bold. She laughed loudly, the sound sharp like broken glass. Her dress shimmered under the lights, more expensive than my whole rent for the month. They didn't see me at first. I stood frozen near the drinks tray, my hands shaking. I could barely breathe. And then Leo looked up. Our eyes met. He flinched. Just a small movement, but I saw it. And the woman? She followed his gaze. She looked at me slowly, like she was peeling me apart with her eyes. Then she smiled. Not a kind smile. Not even a fake one. It was cold. Cruel. Like a knife pressed against skin. Oh. So this is where you've been sneaking off to, she said to him. This little diner? Leo opened his mouth. But no words came out. Then she turned to me. Her voice soft, but sharp. Cute waitress, she said. You always had a soft spot for charity cases, didn't you, darling? Leo reached for my hand. But I stepped back. My voice barely a whisper. You should leave. He didn't argue. He just looked at me with wide, sad eyes. And left. I don't remember finishing my shift. I just remember walking to the back hallway. Sitting down beside the kitchen door. And crying. Not the quiet kind. But the kind where your chest hurts and your whole body shakes. Like your heart is breaking in two. Leo came back the next day. And the day after that. He waited at table 4, just like always. He didn't order anything the first time. Just sat there with his hands folded and his eyes low. I tried to avoid him. I told my coworker to serve that side of the room. But he stayed. The next day, he came again. This time I had no choice but to go to him. He stood up slowly as I walked over. His voice was quiet, almost shaking. She's my ex-fiancée, he said. We were supposed to be done. I didn't think she'd show up that night. I didn't invite her. I didn't plan any of that. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him, my heart heavy. I never meant to hurt you, Nora. Please believe that. But I couldn't speak. Because all I could hear was her voice. Charity case. Just a waitress. The words played again and again in my mind. Like a song you don't want to hear, but can't turn off. I started to wonder. Was that how he saw me too? Just someone to feel sorry for? Someone small? So I stayed silent. And after a few more tries, Leo stopped coming. Weeks passed. I didn't see him anymore. Not at the restaurant. Not outside. Not anywhere. Something inside me began to shut down. I stopped talking about architecture. Stopped drawing. Stopped dreaming. I worked, I cleaned tables, I brought coffee. I smiled. But only on the outside. One night, I came home late. My little brother was sitting on the floor with scissors, tape, and bits of old paper. He was trying to fix something, carefully gluing the tiny pieces back together. What are you making? I asked softly. He held it up. Did you build this? He asked, eyes wide. It's really cool. I looked closely. It was one of my old paper houses. I had made it years ago, maybe when I was 15 or 16. I had drawn little windows and even tiny flowers near the door. Seeing it again. Something broke open inside me. Tears filled my eyes. Because I had forgotten her. The girl who believed paper could become walls. That dreams could become buildings. That one day, she could design a home someone would actually live in. About a month later, something arrived in the mail. There was no name. No return address. Just a plain white envelope. Inside was a folded paper. It was a sketch, clean lines, gentle shapes, open spaces. A real building plan. A design for a community housing project. On the back, written in small handwriting, were these words. Inspired by Nora. Designed for the girl who believed in homes before she believed in herself. I sat with that letter for a long time. My hands didn't move. My heart did. And that's when I knew I had to make a decision. I applied for a scholarship. Just writing that sentence still feels unreal. It was one of the scariest things I've ever done. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, the old fan humming above my head, papers spread out everywhere. My hands were shaking. My stomach felt tight. I didn't have much. No recent grades. No college papers. No fancy recommendation letters. All I had was a folder filled with my childhood sketches, little houses made from dreams and pencil lines. And a letter I wrote from my heart. I stayed up all night writing that letter. It wasn't perfect English. But it was honest. I told them who I was. That I worked full-time to support my sick mother and little brother. That I used to build homes out of napkins when I was 10. That my dream never died, it just waited. Quietly. Inside me. I didn't think I would get it. Why would they choose me? A tired waitress with no degree? But deep down, a small voice whispered, try. And then, one day, an envelope arrived. I opened it with shaking hands. I got in. I got the scholarship. Leo and I didn't speak for a long time. Months passed. Maybe even a year. Sometimes I thought of him. Of his quiet voice. Of the way he believed in me when I had forgotten how. But life moved forward. Then, last year, something happened. I was invited to an architecture event. Invited. Not as a server. Not to pour water or carry trays. I came as a guest. A student. A designer. I wore a simple dress. My shoes clicked softly on the clean floor. My heart beat fast. And then, I saw him. Leo. He was standing near a large model of a housing project. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. He walked over, smiling. You made it, he said. I looked at him, standing tall, not afraid anymore. And I smiled back. I was never just a waitress, I replied. Today, I'm in my second year of design school. I still work part-time at the same restaurant. But now, I walk in differently. My back is straight. My chin is high. Because I know who I am. I'm not just anything. I am not small. I am strong. I am kind. I am building something. For myself. For my family. For every person who has ever been made to feel invisible. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment and share. For more emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon. Yeah.